Well, hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of Chats with Chelsi. Happy Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever day you're watching, listening to this. I'm excited that you've joined us for another episode where you are going to be encouraged. You're hearing from today a woman leader who is a mom. She's the editor of her own online community called Inkfully. She is a Christian. She loves Jesus, and she has a passion for women and for empowering them. So I am so excited you join in. So ladies, join me in welcoming Tania Woods to Chats with Chelsi. Welcome, Tania.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
I'm stoked. I love your website. I've loved your transparency over the years, just with sharing your story, your passions. And so let's just go ahead and jump in. So tell us about your platform, Inkfully.
Yeah. So where do I start? A couple years ago, well, it's been a few years now, probably back in 2014 or so, I had this longing for depth in community. And I had just transitioned from living in Florida to Austin, Texas, and I suddenly found myself alone, right? You're trying to find new friends and all this stuff. So the first thing I thought to do was, okay, let me try to find community on Instagram. Right, so I'm scrolling and I'm doing these things, and no matter how hard I looked, it just felt like everything was so perfect, so polished. Nobody was being transparent. I was a new mom. I was just looking for other women to really connect with in an authentic way, and certainly back then that it was not there. And so my burden just grew with I feel like a community needs to be there for women to not only connect, but also share their narratives in a way that's really authentic and really real, but also really encouraging, and finding that balance of, I'm not there yet. And can you receive me as I am while I'm walking through this valley, while I'm walking through this journey, and then also encourage along the way. So Inkfully essentially is a place that does just that. The name Inkfully is essentially writing out your story in a way where, our lives are stained in ink. You can't take it back. There's no delete buttons. There's no erase buttons. And so it's like understanding that even though we can't change our past, or we can't change those parts of our narrative, they make us who we are. And there's redemption in when we open up and share those vulnerable parts of who we are, because there's someone else who needs to hear them. So it's all about doing that, and I'm so passionate about it. It's been a long time coming.
Wow. And so blogs, how are you building your community?
Yeah. So it started with it started on Instagram with me just saying, hey, I'm going to be the token person to just lay it out there. Hey, be vulnerable as for me as a young mother, I was talking about things that I wasn't seeing, like, this is hard. This is not a Huggies commercial. Let me show you how that is. And so it started with me sharing my own. And then as I expanded, I was like, well, I want other women to be able to do this too. And that's when I launched in 2016 the Inkfully online community and website. Essentially, it's one would call it a blog, but I consider it more for me because it's a where women can submit their stories. You don't have to have 100,000 followers. You don't have to have 2 followers. You know what I'm saying? It's just your story. You submit it online, and I do all the editing work and things like that. And I would be publishing these various stories for people to read from different perspectives, different walks of life. So it's a little bit on the online website space, inkfully.com, and then also on Instagram right now, predominantly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that you allow others to submit their stories to be able to provide different perspectives. For me, that is huge, because I think that, and I've seen that, there's different boxes as women we put ourselves in. And so sometimes we're not open to other perspectives or other experiences of understanding how life, one, can be tough and challenging. Okay.
Yeah.
But how there are different ways to navigate it. And so that is super amazing. You're a mom. How many kids do you have?
I have 3, a 7-year-old boy and 2 girls, 4 and 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
So tell us, one of the things that I have seen throughout my journey of us being Facebook friends and just following your journey is about one of your sons. Tell us about that.
So my son Elijah, he's 7, and a big part of our journey, my husband and I, thought he was diagnosed with autism back in when he was 3. So I guess it's been about 4 years now, and he's my first, and that was definitely a really tough season. It still is. It's still definitely every day. I have to take a lot of deep breaths and things of that nature. So, and autism essentially is a social emotional disorder, I want to say, and it also comes with developmental delays, cognitive delays, and it's something where it prevents him from being able to engage in what you would expect from a typical developing child. And I can definitely go into that more if you want to. But yeah, so he's dealing with that, and then after him, I had two more, and so that's been adding to that dynamic as well.
Were there concerns after your first son that your other two kids could be autistic?
I think so. By the time I had realized when he got diagnosed with autism, I was pregnant. I was pregnant with my second child, and so there was that, right? And so I think some of those worries did come up a little bit, but not to the point where I was overly anxious or I was overly concerned. But I did know to like look for the signs. So yeah, I don't think it stopped me from having more, but I can definitely see in the community why if that were to happen with the first, why it would prevent someone from wanting or even engaging in having more children. So yeah.
You know, I am no expert in autism. I'm sure you and your husband are from your son and being exposed to and wanting to make sure
That's not an expert, but yeah.
How have you navigated that as a mom? I mean,
Yeah.
it's there's so many different perspectives and stigmas to those who are autistic, and so how have you navigated that as a mom, being able to interact with other kids? Does your son attend a normal school? Like, what's that like?
To be honest with you, it's a whole different life, right? I don't really know. I don't know the alternative with having a son specifically because he's my only son. And he's my first, right? So all the first experiences are going through him. But I can tell you it's definitely a challenge. I think some of the hardest things is just that, things that the everyday milestones that you look forward to when you have a child. For example, the first time they say, "I love you," the first time, just them engaging with you in what would seem like a natural way. Like, I always explain it like this. We think that we love unconditionally, but you don't know what unconditional love is until you don't realize that love isn't being reciprocated in a way that you anticipate, right?
Wow.
So if you have a young child too, they're in that cute stage, and you're like, "Baby, mommy loves you. Like, I love you so much," and like all your heart yearns for is to connect with your child. For them to look, even simple things like looking you in the eye. So Elijah struggles with eye contact, and it took me forever to really. Some days I would like literally shake him, like not like violently, but I'd just be like, "Baby, please, like just look at mommy. Like I just want to know that you're here with me." Like it feels like sometimes that he's in his own world a little bit, and I'm trying to pull him out of it. And it took me a while, a couple of years to realize like true love and unconditional love is meeting someone in their world, meeting someone where they are and loving them through that. And it's been a challenge. I can't lie to you. There's been times where I've been in my closet in the pit, what I call the pit, like just crying, just feeling like I was grieving, and I had to and it is a form of grief, right? My association prior to that with grief was that someone had to be like no longer here. They had to have passed. And so I'm like, why do I feel so bad? My son's still alive. He's still able-bodied. You know what I mean? There's kids out there who are hospital bound, fighting real battles, and I invalidated my own struggle, my own story with him. And I had to allow myself to say, no, this is a real thing. The life that you anticipated has changed in a huge way, And so yeah, it definitely has been a journey. I've had to learn to adjust, to give him space to just be who he is. There's been times where, he'll have what I call meltdowns. And so it could be like an hour long crying and screaming uncontrollably because something in his environment happened that wasn't anticipated or expected. For example, if you go to a store and we tell them, "Hey, we're going to Target to get you a new toy," and the toy's out of stock, forget it. You know what I mean? It can last for hours, because it's just like I anticipated something happening and that didn't happen, and now my whole world is thrown off. And so that can be really, emotionally draining. But then, knowing that if I stay calm, if I stay calm in my body, he's reacting to that energy and being able to just balance that. So it's a whole thing. But yeah, I hope that answers some of that for you.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And I'm grateful for your openness and your transparency because, I hear statistics just of, more and more kids being diagnosed with autism.
158, I believe. Mm-hmm.
And so it's so important that there are first mothers like you who are willing to tell the truth and be transparent. And then also for me, it's for you are a Black mom telling, about your experience and being real of this is happening.
Yeah.
And what this looks like going through that journey and that process. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Wow. Motherhood. So here's another question though. Mm-hmm. How has having an autistic son, your first son, affected how you parent your other two kids?
My second daughter, who's 4, has to grow up really fast. And I hate to say that because, she is my oldest child developmentally, right? She's 4, but in my mind, like, my 7-year-old is more like, I have a 2-year-old and he communicates more clearly, but I can have more conversations with my 2-year-old than with Elijah, who's 7, right? And so the 4-year-old, Olivia, she kind of acts as like the intermediary, and I have to remember that she's only 4. Even when she was 3, I'm like, Mom, Tania, like, she's only 3. You know what I mean? You're putting too many expectations on her. She's going to have meltdowns like any 3 or 4-year-old would. She's going to have these moments. I think sometimes I am harder on her than I would hope that I want to be. And I have to backtrack and tell myself, like, she's only this age and she has to be able. So I also try to give them their time with me alone. Thankfully, it's been a blessing. And also hard, also challenging. That's a whole other story that I've been able to be home with them. So I've been stay-at-home mom pretty much the whole time, but definitely since Elijah's been diagnosed because there's so many appointments and things to navigate. So in that time, he was going to school and I was able to have just time with the girls, right? Just time with, my 4-year-old, and then when my 2-year-old came on, just time with her. And I believe that's really helped to give them that one-on-one that they need, or, hey, we're just going to go on a date with just mommy, me and you, so they know that they're special, that they're loved, because it requires a lot of energy and a lot of our attention goes to Elijah and just managing his needs. There's been times we're at birthday parties or events or school assemblies and we have to leave in the middle of it before you get the cookie, before we cut the cake. And my girls are like, but Mom, I want to stay. Like, my friends are here, or I didn't want to leave yet. And I have to like talk to them in a way that they understand, like, your brother is having a hard time and we have to go, but it's hard on them because they have to grow up a little bit faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, thank you for being a parent who has not given up on your kids in face of difficulty. Where do you find your strength to continue each day?
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely the Lord, you know what I mean? I know it's a cliche answer, but, on my best days, it's the Lord. On my worst days, it's been pulling the sheets over my head and literally checking out and telling, my husband, like, I'm not here, like, I can't do this today. Like, we need to put some systems in place so that, whatever needs to happen has to happen. Like, you're going to have to stay home. And it affects him as well. So it's kind of like, but because I'm on the front lines of being home, right? There's a lot of days where I'm like, hey, you need to come home early today. Like, I absolutely have nothing else to give anyone, especially when Elijah was younger. And he was home with me, prior to being at school for like 8 hours that he's at now, there was a lot of times where it was really rough. So I would say, prayer, I have, my closet essentially is like that war room, right? Where I'm pressing in, I'm crying in, I'm cursing in, you know what I mean? You're doing all those things and you're just like, Lord, you have to, bring peace to this storm, right? And then another practical tip is literally I started telling myself, it's just a wave. Like when the car, like somewhere where I can't get alone, you just can't, right? I'll tell myself, it's just a wave. It's just a wave. It always comes back down. It always subsides. It's just a wave. And I literally would just repeat that to myself and tell him as well, son, it's just a wave. It's going to come back down. And that helps me to realize, like, I know it's at its peak right now, and I know it feels really real, and it is, but it always comes back down. There's always, you know what I'm saying? There's always a lull, a setting of the tide, you know? So that helps too.
Well, it's a blessing that you know Jesus. There is a power to His presence that definitely helps us in the most difficult and challenging times. And as I'm listening to you, and I'm grateful for your transparency and for your authenticity, you point to the fact of, as you talk about being in your closet, your prayer closet, your war room of praying. And it serves as a reminder to me and to so many other women out there who are going through a difficult time that, yes, God is real, Jesus is real, yet in that, and as we pray for whatever it is that we're believing for, things may not change overnight.
Right.
And there's some things that will be a journey for the rest of our lives, but thankfully we don't have to do it by ourselves.
And then just knowing that His grace, like, literally carry, even when you don't have enough left to pull yourself into a closet and pray. You don't have any more words to pray. You're that, like, you know, you feel that either forsaken, or you feel that, like, just depressed or whatever, you know what I mean? Where you feel like, I can't even open my mouth to vocalize anything right now. It's important to understand that God's grace is there too. You know what I mean? And He says no matter where we are, whether we lay our bed in Sheol and hell, you know, wherever we are, He's with us, you know, and that He's not going to leave you. Even in your lowest moments, He's there to slowly but surely usher you out of those, you know, of that valley, of that pit. And sometimes it feels like, oh, it's all on me. Like, if I don't get in my word, if I don't put on a worship song, you know, God will get you to the place where you can do that. Sometimes you can't even do that. And it's like, I need you to hold me right now until I can find the glimmer of light. But right now I don't find the light. Like, help me to find the glimmer because I can't find it on my own, you know? And His grace is so sufficient. So I always like to remind women, like, even in those moments where you feel like I can't find it, He's still there, you know?
That's beautiful. Beautiful and true and powerful that we don't have to have it all together.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know, we don't have to be something or be in a place mentally and emotionally that we're not, because we do know Jesus and He is everything we could ever need or want. And especially in our moments of weakness, He's there. And so we talked about motherhood, the journey with your son, your oldest son, Elijah, who has autism.
Yeah.
What has it been like being a stay-at-home mom? Is this what you all had planned for? What's that been like, Tania?
So, man. So no, we didn't plan for it. I didn't plan for that. But I'm trying to think. So we've been married. My husband and I have been married for about 9 years. It'll be 9 years next month. And straight out the gate, I got pregnant. I know, right? Or almost in the double digits. So, but yeah, straight out the gate, I got pregnant, right? So I was working full time, and prior to us getting married, I was very much like career driven. I'm going to inroads. I was also inroads. You know, enroader. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was an enroader and had that enroads mindset of like, I'm going to take over the business, corporate, you know, whatever. And so we got married, and he was actually transitioning we were long distance on top of that. So when we got married, I was like, forget that, I'll follow you to the end of the world. You know, you're just so caught up, right? And so young. And so we moved to Austin, Texas for him to pursue his master's in engineering. And I was like, I'll just find something when I get there. I'm quitting my job. I'm coming with you. We're married, you know. And so that was all good. But he's home and I'm home. And so what happens when two people are home and they're newly married? It's like no solid plan, child. So we're like 2 months in, literally. And I'm like, well, that happened, you know. And so our son was born. But at that time, I'm still looking for work, but I'm getting increasingly bigger, right? And so it's getting more awkward. And so I wasn't able to find something straight away. And then I think when he was born, I just really wanted to enjoy, you know, being a mom. And so somewhere, I believe around the 15th to 18th month mark, I started to have what I call like the new mom identity crisis, especially, and I believe it happens probably for working moms as well, but certainly staying home, you have this crisis of like, what am I doing here? who am I? What's next? What am I? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing for the rest of my life? Just changing diapers and cleaning up and, dealing with all the things that come with being home and cleaning toilets, like, is this what, like, this is not what I went to school for. This is not, so you start having these moments and then for me, it's taken me a journey to, like, one, see the gratitude and the blessing, and, like, there's so many women who desire to, and again, you can't do it from a place of guilt, right? So you gotta have a healthy perspective, but where this is so desirable, like, I've been able to say that, it really hit me this year, like, I've been able to be home for 9 years, like, off of one income. Like, that's a blessing. Like, I have lots of single mom friends, like, girl, what are you talking about? One income, 3 kids, like, how are y'all, like, that is a blessing. Just stop there, point blank period. But then there's also the reality and the challenges that come with, that there's been a loss of identity that I had to refine. There's been a loss of confidence and insecurity that I've had to, re-tap back into. Who am I? Who am I outside of the roles of a wife and a mother? Because you just get so absorbed in that narrative. Like, all I am is a wife and a mother. Like, what else am I using the passions and the giftings that God's called me to impact the world around me, and so finding what that is. And so there's a lot for sure. And I have, I probably will write a book about it, but it's definitely been a journey, and it hasn't been an easy one for me. I'll say that. I'll be transparent enough to say that. But I also am trying to find more often the gratitude and the blessing in it than I am the, why.
So how do you identify yourself? How do you describe yourself? How do you introduce yourself?
Yeah, that's definitely been a journey. And for my natural default and that's why I'm through a place of transparency, my natural default is always, like, behind my husband's shadow, because I had been there for a while. So it's like, I'm a wife and a mom, and I'm supporting him, very traditional, just because of the insecurities that had developed over time with, like, well, I guess this is what I'm doing. But as God has revealed to me over the last few years, what he's called me to. He's called me to women. He's called me to speak life and truth into them in an authentic and vulnerable way. Then I can stand on my own 2 feet and say, that's what I'm here to do. That is who I'm here to serve. My role as a wife and a mother is 100% the most important thing. I have a child with special needs. I can't pretend like that narrative isn't there. It's so much of who I am, But as an individual outside of those roles, I know that there's a specific voice and a specific community that he's called me to. So, yeah, when I introduce myself, I just say that my name's Tania, and I'm a girl who loves, I love with my heart on my fingertips. And I'm going to be, even if I have to laugh at my own expense, you have to laugh at my own expense, I'm going to be super real with you to let you know that you're not alone. There's so many things where we feel like women feel like they're alone in, like, oh my goodness, am I only one walking through this journey? And I'm here to let you know, no, girl, you're not alone. Let me tell you how it is. If no one else is going to be real, I will. So
yeah. I love it. I love the passion. I love the, just the transparency and the rawness. One of the things that I talk about often, Tania, is the fact of how social media can be a blessing. Mm-hmm. And then it can be the biggest curse ever, because you have so many people who are not being real, and as you said, and how Inkfully was birthed, a part of how it was birthed was you were looking on Instagram and everyone wanted to be what they were showing, because it was only the highlight reels. We all have stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. All have stuff going on. Everyone wanted to be perfect. And one of the things that I've learned in my journey is that, it's okay to share the great things that are happening in life, right? Because right. But it's also okay to be vulnerable, because there's somebody else within your following who I'm pretty sure needs that encouragement and that reminder of, man, I'm not the only one who struggles with my identity. Or I'm not the only one who has a special needs child, or I'm not the only one who I'm at a place in life where, I didn't think that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, but my journey has evolved into something differently, yet it is still beautiful to how it has evolved. And so thank you. I say that to say thank you for creating a platform for women, Inkfully. I mean, I just think it's beautiful, and we need more people, more communities that are authentic and transparency, or otherwise we continue to put out these pictures and these sayings when and it looks like we have it together, but our hearts are just totally broken and we're lost and confused. And
Yeah.
so thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
So where do you see Inkfully in the next 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah. So I think the next step for Inkfully is the podcast, actually, that's going to be launching next week.
Yay!
I know. So I'm stepping into your world. I guess you're on the other side this time. But yep, I'm working behind the scenes. Got all my shows up there. And yeah, so the next step is essentially, I just feel like, and this has been something that I've been wanting to do. Honestly, I did a test episode in 2014 and I was like, I can't do it. It's too hard. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been looking into podcasting for, I mean, like I said, that's, almost 5 years or 4 years now, but I never really took it seriously because it felt like a lot to get into, like, how do I navigate this? And then a child was born. It's like, forget it. I can't do this right now. Right. And so that's the next step for Inkfully is essentially, it's a personal journey of one. I'm a writer, right? So my first thing is I'm a writer, I'm an encourager, I'm always writing something. I'm also a creative, so I'm always creating something, whether it's print art or I do hand lettering, but I never release it into the world. Like, fear holds me back or, insecurities have held me back. And I feel like this year is a year where I feel the Lord telling me to put out, you are doing the service to the world by holding what I'm giving you, for yourself. It's not for you. Like, this ain't about you, boo. You know what I mean? Like, you realize, like, we exist to serve, and you're not using your gift to serve. You know what I mean? I feel like that is dishonoring. It's dishonoring God when you really think about it. I have a personal responsibility to use what He's given me and put it into the world and let Him do with it as He may. It could be for one person. It could be for a million people. I'm not here to control that. You know what I mean? What I'm here to do is to put what He's given me and put it out into the world. And so that's really what it is. I can go through the gamut of things that he's revealed to me that He's going to do with the platform in terms of my heart for where I see it going. But the biggest thing is connecting women and trying to figure out how to engage a community in that way in the next step. And the very next step is the podcast. And what I'm hoping to do with that space is just to continue on with having an audio version of women sharing their narratives, and then just conversations on the things that we're not talking about as Christian women. And that's a huge thing for me, is that sometimes I feel like we are within the Christian women gamut of talks or conversations. It's almost like we're tapping on things, but we're not diving deeper. And there's an audience that wants to know, wait, before you got to the but God, it's like, no, and I went through it. But then God, it's like, wait, because I'm not there at the but God yet. I'm still right here. Can you just give me a little bit more? And it's not for T-sips, It's not for gossip. It's like, can you tell me, just like you're asking me. So, like, how? Like, how do you do that? Because I can't figure out how to navigate right now in this. I can't see nothing else but dark. Please help me, And so that's my heart on the podcast, and that's what's going to be coming next. I'm really excited about it. So
I'm excited for you as well, and I love that you are going to go deep because, as you said, too often in the Christian community, we tap around things and then we get to the glory, but we don't tell the whole story. And so when that becomes their story, they're so focused on their glory looking like the glory that you shared in your testimony that they don't realize that story may have been 5 months, 6 months, a year, and what that looks like. You didn't tell them that you were in the closet crying. You didn't tell them that there was days you didn't get out of bed, that you didn't eat. And people need that realness so that they don't feel as if they're no longer saved. They don't feel as if God is not with them. God is not for them. And that, because I have just seen in my time, I'm a pastor's wife, but even before I married my husband, who's a pastor, I was very involved in ministry. And for me, one of the things that I am working through even now is that piece of shame and guilt that comes from not doing things a certain way, right? Because my belief and where I am is that we are to obey God's word.
Yeah.
But there's some things that are not black and white, and I love black and white stuff, but there's some things that are not black and white, and either I was told a way to do it, or I put this myself in my own box. And so now that I haven't done it that way, or I've been exposed to something new, there's been this shame or this guilt of, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to respond that way. And then it becomes where it can consume me. And so the Lord has just really been working on my heart of breaking me free from shame and guilt. And at the end of the day, it is, am I following Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. And not just following him, but am I also obeying him in what he's telling me to do? Because if I continue to allow these boxes and this idea of even being a great Christian, which is almost as close as being a perfect Christian, to cloud and stop what he's called me to do, I will most definitely feed into this false narrative that the enemy wants me to live out, which is fear, discouragement, shame, and guilt. And so I just love it. I'm excited. I'm excited for your podcast. I mean, your blogs and even what you've shared on Facebook over the years has always been extremely raw, if I may say. But it's been so heart-touching, so wrenching, all those things that make you realize, oh man, this is real life, and I can still love Jesus and go through all these difficult times.
Right. And I think, as a, for my personal story, it's hard. It's hard to try the balance between rawness and truth, between grace and love. You know what I mean? How do you balance? And that's something that I prayerfully approach every conversation I have with, like, how do we balance allowing people to just be there, right? But loving them enough to know that I'm gonna love you through this. You're not gonna stay. I know I'm believing for you that you're not gonna stay here, right? And it's like, a lot of times we want to clean things up really fast, right? Just like we just talked about. And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to sit in brokenness with someone. It's just like, we want to see them better. You want to see your friend. You're like, girl, come on, let's get this word. Like, my husband Aaron one time I told him, I came home and I was just like, I was just venting about something. And I was broken, probably over something with Elijah. And he was like, babe, let's just pray. Like, can we just pray together? I was like, don't pray for me until you listen to me, And I know that sounds bad, like, I wasn't checking him, oh my God. But my point was that, and it just hit me like, wow, people are so much ready to receive what you have to give when you don't come in ready to, like, fix them quickly. It's like, hey, like, I'm here to listen to you, hear your narrative, and walk you through it. Because a lot of times that's where that healing comes. Just like being a safe place for someone to wrestle with the beauty and the blows of life, Hear me and then see me through that part where I can join you together and receive your word, receive your impartation or your prayer, But if you're so quick to, what are you going to be praying for? You don't even know how I'm really feeling yet. So that's a big part of who I am and what I'm all about. Yeah.
I like that. Listen to me before you pray for me.
It's true,
That's really good.
Yeah.
As we are coming to an end of our beautiful conversation, what is your message to young women who find themselves in a place that they hadn't prayed for, didn't plan for, but this is where God has them?
That is a really good question. What is my message? Number one, stay in the story. That is, I wear this necklace around my neck, whatever you call it, every day. And it's a semicolon. You can't see it, it's far away. It's really small. It's a semicolon. It's a semicolon for mental health. It has to do with, so a semicolon is a dot and then the comma underneath it. And essentially what this means to me is the power of staying in the story. Because too often, all we see, especially when you're young, we're still young, but, especially when you're going through the couple first adversities in your adult life, you think this is it. Like, it can't get any better from here. How much worse can it possibly get? And that's when, signs of either depression come, signs of, if we get deeper, suicidal thoughts, ideations come, where you feel like, there's no meaning or purpose to my life. And I'm here to say, one, stay in that story because God is not finished with you yet. Like, there's something that you have to give that only you can give, and you have to go through. You have to push in and press in order for him to come out like purified gold. You know what I mean? Like we all want to go through life unscathed, right? We have this like inner desire of like, Lord, just give me the least amount of trials and the least amount of things as possible, right? So that I can get. But the thing is, the purpose and the passion comes in the breaking. You know what I mean? The transformation of who you are. It's like a seed. And Anne Boschamp, one of my favorite authors, said this. It's like a seed. You plant it in the ground. You have to die. You have to be broken, and then that seed births life, right? You comes up. It's all poetic, right? But it's true. Like you feel like the breaking is the end of you, that you're broken and you're literally on your last leg. But the breaking is where you find where God shows you who He really is. You know what I mean? And where you find who you really are through that. And so I just tell everyone, like, I know it hurts. I know it's tough to be where you are right now. But please, sis, just, allow God to do His work in you. Like, lean into Him, trust in Him, and He's going to see you through every single storm. Psalm 18, go read it. It will give you life today if that's what you're facing. I don't know it by heart, but I always go there whenever I feel like I'm in a place where I need God's strength. So yeah, stay in that story. God's going to see you through it. He has not forsaken you.
What books have you read throughout this journey that's been helpful?
Oh man, there's a couple of them. One is 1,000 Gifts by Anne Boschamp. It's essentially a narrative of her explaining the power of seeing gratitude in everyday moments, from the simple things, from, when you wake up and getting a glimmer of the sunrise, some poetic things like that, glimmer of the sunrise, but just finding a seed and a thread of gratitude, even in the midst of the darkest place. Like, what can I pull out of this? That there's always light, even in darkness, right? And that helps if you create because you can get so caught up in your own narrative, and dark can feel just dark all the time if you just always see darkness, But where is the light? Where's the speckle? Where's the gratitude? That's one book. What else have I read? I mean, there's been things, of course, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but yeah, that's been a good, anything by her is really good. Then there's a new book out. One last one is by, what's this lady's name? Oh man, I cannot remember. Okay, that's it. I'm going to leave it with that okay. One book. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, Tania, I am so grateful for your time today. For those who want to follow you, how can they follow you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Inkfully, ink.fully. If you put in Inkfully straight, I'll come up as well. But ink.fully on Instagram, Inkfully on Twitter, Inkfully on Facebook. Come find me. I would love to just, private DM me, private message me. I'm definitely one of those people that love to just hear women's stories and be that vessel of hope for you in that storm. So
that's so powerful. Well, Tania, thank you so much for being with Chats with Chelsi today. To the Chats with Chelsi community, please go check out Inkfully. I know that you will be blessed, you'll be encouraged, you'll be inspired, and be sure to support Tania in her upcoming podcast. And as you all know, we are in the season of nominations and donations for the annual Mother-to-Be celebration. So if you feel led to give, please go to lifewithchelsi.com. Help us to bless some amazing moms who happen to be in difficult situations at this time. Again, we love you. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Chats with Chelsi. Have a great day.